who said the government figures sounded right to her. Well, that's not half of a joke, the 42-year-old public school teacher. I still have to put the little buggers through college. Now, of course, I don't know if you know what the word bugger is actually a derogatory phrase. It shows you how demented the society has become, that people would refer to their children in such a derogatory manner. But we'll put that aside. The question again is, are children worth it? And why are they worth it? Why do you think it is worth sacrificing to spend money on a child when you can spend it, for example, on a vacation at the beach? Think of all the beautiful clothing you could buy for yourself. Think if you could live like they do in West Los Angeles, where everyone is a star behind their car. Everyone drives around making believe that you think, that they think, that you think, that they think, etc., and everyone's a star behind their car. But think of the beautiful car you could buy instead of raising your child. Think of the extraordinary cost of sending a child to college. I remember when I had very little money and I was struggling, I used to see people driving around in Porsches with bibs on them in the 80s. And I said, God, that's a beautiful car. I had to save money to send my children through college. I did so. I did want the car. I wouldn't lie to you if I wanted a brown Porsche with a bib. I look back now and think how stupid that was. But the fact of the matter is, you have to sacrifice to raise a child. It's very expensive and very costly. And what is the reason for raising a child? So if you want to talk about this, you can call me, because I think this is an essentially good question. Are children worth it? Why or why not? I happen to know a very wealthy man, a very nice man, who does not have children, and he regrets not having had children. He's had a very interesting life, a very good life. He gives money away. Very nice man, but he has no children. And he would like to have had children, but he hasn't had children. Do you regret not having had children? Looking back, do you wish that you had suppressed some of your id and instead spent the money on a child instead of on your selfish self? Or the other side of the coin, let's assume you have children or have had children. Are you glad that you sacrificed for them, even though you have less now than you might have had? This is the one and only Savage Nation. I am the heavyweight championship holder of talk radio. I'll be right back.
The Savage Nation.
Says a lot of things people don't have the boldness to say.
Weekday afternoons 3 to 7. Talk 910. KNEW.
In a kiss, wave mama from the train, a goodbye.
Throw mama from the train, never mind a kiss. Welcome back to the Savage Nation.
Mama from the train.
Middle-income family spends $221,000 to raise baby. I'm asking you, are children worth it? Why or why not?
Don't cry, my
I mean, think of all the trips you could take, all the nice shoes and ties. Think of all the fun you could have going to resorts. Think of all the meals you could have instead of children. I mean, are they worth it? You don't need them to pick the corn crop. What do you need them for? Why do you have children? What's the purpose of it? I mean, I'll give you, my personal opinion is yes, it's worth it. That without children, there's no reason to live. To be honest with you. I mean, to me, that's the whole continuum. And I suppose that grandchildren would be wonderful. I don't have grandchildren. I hope I do one day. But the fact of the matter is that's the whole chain. It's an inherent, encoded desire in mankind. I don't care what the race is. I don't care what the culture is. We know that the ethnic culture, so to speak, or let us say other societies outside of America, place a greater emphasis on family than we do. We know that white people are dying around the world because they have given over to the id and the principle of pleasure rather than the principle of sacrifice, and they would rather have fun than have children. We know that. We know that the birth rates in most Western European nations are unsupportable. They're negative ones, and that the immigrants are going to take over Europe. Within 50 years, Europe will be Muslim. As certainly England. England is not reproducing. They're too busy getting drunk, puking, and having orgasms or looking for one. England is dead. I think the lowest birth rate that I read about recently was in, believe it or not, Serbia. Ireland had a very low birth rate. And the U.S., if you were to extrapolate out Caucasians from other ethnic groups, it would be a -1 birth rate. The white people are not reproducing. They're too busy having a good time. All you're going to do is look at the clubs, and you'll understand what happened to America. Take a look. You go into a city like San Francisco and you take a look at the stores. There are virtually no baby stores. There are pet stores with clothing for pets. Now, I love my dog, but a dog was originally in a household to entertain children. All right, people now, you hear them talking about their dogs or cats the way they used to talk about their children. When I grew up, the women in the Bronx would push a stroller, and they would look at each other's baby and coo over each other's baby and inquire about each other's baby and talk about each other's baby and love each other's baby and help each other over their baby. Today they talk about their dogs and cats. So that's the future of America. The nation's gone to the dogs. But the question is, for those of you who don't see it that way, who have children or having children or going to have children, why are you doing so? What is the reason that you think it's worth having children? Let's start on the West Coast. Tom in Los Angeles on KGIL. Go ahead, please. Your thoughts on children. Have you gone from kids to ids in one generation?
No, good afternoon, Dr. Savage. And this question, I think, is why your program is the best, because of the various topics in which you direct the show. I am single, don't have any children, but I do believe that things are less family-centered in this country, and I think that the reason why people did have children, or the benefit of that, is because I believe the greatest contribution we can leave to this planet and this world are the ones we leave behind. So the folks and the people who want to have children and raise them morally, and that's...
Yeah, but what happens if you give your child everything and it winds up like Michael Douglas's son allegedly selling crank in a hotel room and brings shame to the father and the grandfather? What do you do in that case?
Unfortunately, you have to live with it. You've done the best you can as a parent.
Yeah, but you got to understand, children are a crapshoot, my friend. I don't care how good you are as a parent. And you can't always say it's the parents' fault either, and you can't take credit for the good children either. That's the thing you got to remember.
Savage. The Savage Nation.
He's got a lot of passion.
He's funny.
Really right on top of things.
Talk 910 KNEW.
We're going to go back to children, are they worth having because of the high cost, but there's a story that we linked up on michaelsavage.com from the New York Post that says the police have done a blood test on the woman who was driving the wrong way on a highway, and she was high on vodka and marijuana. 7 miles she drove on a highway wrong way. She killed herself. She killed her children. She killed her sister's her brother's 3 children. It's unbelievable to me that you don't understand the dangers of marijuana, that you still don't get it. We all know drunk driving is evil and bad and dangerous. We understand that. But what about driving while high? If anybody in Marin County drives after 6 p.m. who's not high on marijuana, they should be given a prize here. And look at this story. Michael Douglas's son busted for meth sale in the middle of his father's hotel room, allegedly. It's frightening. It's unbelievable to me. The grandfather, Kirk Douglas, Michael Douglas, incredible actors. By the way, this kid was a good actor. I saw him in a movie where they did the 3 men in a movie a couple of years ago. I loved it. The kid could have had a career in movies. Why? Why did this kid have to become a drug addict? What is it in that family that he was trying to be that he couldn't be? He needed money? He couldn't have gone to his father or grandfather for money? So something's wrong here. I don't know. So they talk about children. So don't assume you have a child necessarily think it's going to be work out fine. Look at the world around you. I'm asking you if it's worth it. Why? I like to watch certain kind of shows on TV. One of them I like to watch is either the lockups, where they got the guys in jail. They always scare you with who's in jail and all of that. And there's some of them are truly frightening characters, behind bars. I mean, they are really frightening. They are the ones who should be on the front lines fighting Islamic terrorism in Afghanistan, along with our military, if they could be controlled. I mean, these are the guys who would run into a minefield and cut their throats for us. These are the guys who, in other times, would have been fighting for us instead of being locked up behind bars. But let's put that aside for a minute. They interview them, and most of them say, I want to get out for my kid, my child. Now, you don't know whether they're BSing the camera or girl or whatever. They all want a child. Or you look at the organized criminals that are caught. They usually have children. They live for their families. Why? The wise guys, why do they all have families? What's inherently in the DNA of a human being to want to have children? What is it? Is it necessarily something that you're going to gain from a child? What does a child give you? Usually it's a one-way street of you giving them. Now, there are rare exceptions, I admit, but they're far and few between. Why do people have children? They're not easy. Yes, when a child is a baby, if they're born healthy and you're lucky enough to have a healthy child, they're amazing to watch a child be born and to raise the child. It brings something out in you that you can't write about, you can't read about. You have to be there and you have to feel it. It changes you. All of your cells change when you have a baby. It changes everything in you. You start looking at the world a different way and in a better way. You take better care of yourself and you become protective towards them and you start to see society in a different way. But, you know, when a child hits those years, I don't know what the years are, 11, puberty they call it, whatever, puberty, schmuberty. In other words, when they start to get desires for the opposite sex, hopefully, unless they live in Marin County, at that point in their life, they don't want to know you too much anymore. And as I say, you know, you continue to treat them like they're children, and they don't want to be treated like babies anymore at that point, nor should they. So you wind up at that point overprotecting the child. They're trying to break away.